Welcome back to another episode of me trying to pretend to be mechanically inclined. We're going to return to the Corolla and working on trying to figure out a few things, such as the steering. Yes, we're going to find, instead of trying to get the engine in first, as I've been thinking, okay, I'm going to have to hack up the transmission tunnel to get the motor and transmission as one unit in and out of this car. So I figure the smart thing to do first is get this thing installed and then figure out the inner tie rods I need to use. I have this set that I bought for the MR2. I think it's too long, but I figure might as well get it all installed and actually see if it's too long or if it's usable. I have also ordered AE86 inner tie rod ends because I'd seen on, I think, Club 4AG that you could use the AW11 manual rack with the power steering inner and outer tie rod, and it should work. The tie rods and things like that aren't overly expensive, and I'm pretty sure I can't really find them in town, so I was like, let's just order it and see what pieces end up working for the equation. So let's get to it. Let's start with some of the parts I know I will be using. I ordered this from Excessive Manufacturing. I'll try and remember to put a link down below. But what this does is that the bushings are bigger than what the OEM ones were on the AW11, or yeah, they were smaller than these. So I'm going to try to put these on, install the rack, and then we'll start looking at where the end of the inner tie rod things over there, see where they meet up in comparison to where the outer tie rod would meet up on the hub on the car. So let's start by getting these installed. And here we are. Rack is loosely installed. You can kind of see the blue from the Excessive Manufacturing mounts. They came with good directions and very simple. So they're installed, but now let's look over at the rack and pinion stuff, or where it's supposed to connect up to the left and right wheel. Here we are with the inner MR2 AW11 tie rods. I don't have the rack and pinion centered right now, so I've got to figure that out. But what I'm going to try to do here, I'm just going to take the MR2 outer tie rods, install it on the car loosely, and I'm going to look at if I can mount them from the bottom or if it needs to be from the top. Because the stock ones for this car mounted from the bottom, so you'd have the stud on it at the top. But I don't know, it just seems like that could become problematic, having this go like mounting like that and then the angle and everything. I don't know, but I'm gonna try. So be right back after I try and center the rack and pinion and get the tie rods out. So let's go. Well, that was a quick little experiment, and it is not a usable solution, I kind of figured. So currently I have the rack and pinion turned all the way to the driver's side. This is the outer MR2 tie rod, and that's the inner. And if you can tell, we'll back up just a little. Either way, there is not really much in the way of turn range here. Like the wheel would be like this, and then you only have that much turn, so that's not going to work. Now let's move over to the AE86 related inner outer tie rod. So a quick little comparison point. Maybe I'm understanding things wrong. So this was the MR2 inner tie rod end. Here's the AE86, and it's just a little longer. So I'm not quite sure if it's gonna give me the space I would expect, but I bought it, So let's give it a try. Well, that last attempt was a fail. As expected, these are too long for you to even put the tie rods all the way on and then actually connect up to the wheel and have the steering look like it would actually work. So I'm going to try something else. I bought the rack used off eBay. It came with these inner tie rods. I'm kind of wondering if the seller was maybe trying to do something similar and put this in an A86 or TE72 or whatever. So I'm going to see how well the shorter one works. Problem is I don't see like a part number, so that kind of sucks. But I'm going to try the ones that came with it and then put the new tie rods from an A86 and see what happens. So let's give this a try. The rack and pinion is in now. Yeah, the shorter inner tie rod ends worked as expected, or, well, I didn't expect it, hence the reason I ordered other stuff. But what I did, I'm assuming this is a good way to center it. I took the caliper I had, or whatever they're called, measured. It was 68 millimeter from here to there. Not how it is right now because I've since fiddled with it, but same thing there. I got between the inner tie rod end and the rack at 68 millimeters, give or take, on both sides. So now I have this is all loosely put in here right now, but I've got, let's avoid blocking the light like that. Got this loosely in. There's not much left on the threads for the inner tie rod, but it works. And the other side has a little more space on the threads, but it seems fine. Figured out what my problem was. Those are listed on Rock Auto as inner tie rod ends. The problem is the ones I ordered also were listed as inner tie rod ends for the Corolla. Well, okay, the last set. The other one was for the MR2. Anyway, so I reused what came on it. Those seem to be right, so looked on Rock Auto, and yeah, it shows the short and the long ones with power steering being Anyway, bottom line is there are two things listed for 85 Corolla for inner tie rod ends that are power steering. So I didn't know better. So I'm going to order new inner tie rod ends, and I also will put images of what Rock Auto shows just to show you I'm not completely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So there's that. Next video is going to be dismantling, like taking the stereo out, probably taking the seats out and pulling the carpet back so I can prepare to start hacking the tunnel. I mean, I may still try to hammer it, but I feel like I couldn't get the tail end of the transmission level with the engine and everything. It just seemed like it's hitting too much. So what I'm going to try and do is cut the tunnel at the base. Well, anyway, I'll show you guys in the next video as I figure out what the hell I'm going to do. But with that said, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever, because I'm all open for more and more info. And I use that to try and figure out, okay, what's my next course of action, whatever. But anyway, bye-bye.